Hello, everybody. My name is Isabella, and welcome to the first video of my book channel, Between the Pages. I'm so excited. I'll talk about kind of how I come to this decision a little bit later. Like I said, my name is Isabella. I am 19, and this is the summer before my last semester in college. So I'm hoping I can kind of regularly upload, but when school is in full force, I sometimes can go a few days without reading, which is a lot for me. I'm always reading a book, always have been for as long as I can remember. I like to read a few pages at least every day. Um but yeah, like I said, I'll talk about it later, but I just really needed to start. And now I guess. Um, but I waited long enough. I'll put it that way, and I'll talk about it later. But yeah, I live in central Mississippi, and I go to Pine Grove Church. I'm apostolic. That's that's a big part of who I am. I love my church. Love my church family, my pastor. And yeah, if you were ever in central Mississippi visiting, you live here, I would love to see y'all at church. Love for y'all to come visit. We'd love to have you. Um, so yeah, I love to read. I always have for as long as I can remember. Um, One of my earliest memories, especially this is definitely the earliest memory about books. One of my earliest memories, it had to have been I had to have been in kindergarten or first grade. And I remember my mom walking into the kitchen of the house that we were living in at the time, and she was like, "Isabella, I got you something," and it was a stack of Stepping Stone books. I don't know if they still make those, but they were popular when I was little. I had a lot of them. But yeah, there were some Stepping Stone books. I don't remember them, like the stories. I remember one of them, and it was like Bert and Ernie from Sesame Street. I think that's their name. Um, and they were cavemen, and they were like swinging on vines through the jungle, and they found some dinosaur eggs. I think raised them, and then at the end rode them like horses. I really don't know. That's the only one I remember. But I remember being so excited when my mom bought me a few books. And yeah, that's one of my earliest memories. And through elementary school, and some of middle school, I was a very avid reader. I would read sometimes two and three books at a time, which I don't do that anymore. I can't. I mean, I could, but I would rather just focus on one book at a time rather than reading two or three at a time. Um, But yeah, the only reason I don't read so much now is really just time. I work now and I'm in school, and high school was really busy too. So still read. I always have like a current read. As soon as I finish one book, I immediately pick up another. Most of the time, I already have an idea of what I'm gonna read next. I just love reading, and also everybody that knows me knows I carry a book everywhere. Like I will take one. I don't take one to like church services, but on our like prayer nights, I help the preteens on Wednesday night prayer, and I always have a book with me. If I go out to town, I keep a book with me, at least in the car. If I go to a doctor's appointment, if I go anywhere really, I always bring a book because it seems like whenever I don't bring one is the like moment that I have to wait like 30 minutes. There was one day I went to the doctor's office, and I was rereading The Hunger Games. I love The Hunger Games. Y'all will hear a lot about that later. I'm eventually going to review those. I'll probably make 50 videos just about The Hunger Games. And once again, everybody that knows me personally knows that I love The Hunger Games. Definitely probably top three books slash series. Um, and I got to read. I don't wanna lie or exaggerate. I really don't know how many. How I read for probably over an hour in the doctor's office. Like I got through probably a fourth of the book, a third of the book, and I feel like I read kind of slow. Not really that I read slow. It's just I like to take my time, especially with a series like The Hunger Games. It's got so many details packed into it. I like read slowly and make sure that I'm like getting all the details. Um maybe it was that I read like 100 pages while I was there. I can't remember. I texted somebody. I might have texted my boyfriend and was like, I've been in here so long. I've read this many pages. Um, I don't know. I can't remember, but that's why I always have a book with me because you never know when you will have the time to read. And I would absolutely much rather read for 30 minutes than sit on my phone in a doctor's office. So, yeah, I still always have a book with me, always have a current read. I never, um, don't have a book that I'm currently reading. So, yeah. Um, so my inspiration kind of for starting, well, I have a lot of reasons. The for starting the books kind of I'll get into the main reasons later, but I used to like watching like booktube channels. I really don't remember who I used to watch. I probably just random people that were talking about a book. But I know there were a few, like I kind of quit watching booktubers because I never found one that I really liked that was really reviewing books that I was interested in or didn't tell me the things about the books that I couldn't just get from the summary, if that makes any sense. Um so I wanted to kind of be that. But another reason is probably should have said this first, but I love talking about books, the books that I'm reading. Like my boyfriend and my closest friends, they know I will rant about the book that I'm reading for forever. I even send them videos sometimes. Um like I uh was going through my camera roll and I found like a series of videos from like 2020. I think that I sent my best friend about a book that I was reading. I was just ranting about it, probably in the middle of the night. And I send my boyfriend videos throughout the day while he's working, just talking about random stuff. A lot of times talking about books. And I will take a whole hour car ride just ranting about a single book or a single series. Um, so yeah, I I love talking about books. So what better reason? Maybe not reason, but hey, I want to start a book tube channel. I guess say it that way. I'm gonna start a YouTube channel and talk about books on here. But really the main reason for me starting this channel is that when you read the summary of a book, you don't really know the content of the book. Um like you don't know how much cursing is going to be in the book. You don't know if there's any explicit content that you may not be comfortable reading. And like there's some things that I'm not comfortable reading that's not going to be a trigger warning of a book because it's not really a trigger warning. It's just something that I don't want to read about in a book. That's not something that I want to spend time thinking about. Um and you never really know until you're in the middle of the book and you've already read a scene or you've read something that you realize it's in there. And there may be someone out there that reviews a book and talks about those things. I personally haven't found them, but I have found myself looking up reviews of a book and they don't always disclose some of the explicit content that may be in the book. Um, and I really hated that, especially when I was younger. Like I really wish, I would have had someone to like, tell me, hey, this book is really good and it doesn't have anything you have to worry about, or no, don't read that book. It's got some things in it that maybe you don't want to read. So, yeah, you never really know the content of a book until you start reading it. Um, so that is my main reason for wanting to review books. My closest friends have heard me talk about that, rant about that fact, um, for a while, and I have talked about starting to review books for 2 to 4 years. I really want to say it's been closer to 4 years that I first thought about it, and then I kind of let the idea go. And then about a year or two ago, I really started thinking about it again and was like, hey, I really could do this. And I even started to make my first video. One time I was with a friend of mine, Grace Lee, and uh, we were sitting outside behind my church. There's like a little, not a field, but it's like a little area of grass, and I sat in the grass and made my first video. That obviously I never uploaded. That was about a year or two ago. But here we are. Um, so yeah. Another I do want to mention, um, another great inspiration of mine was Sister Megan. If y'all go to my church or you're my friend, you definitely know her. Um, Now she lives in Florida. She's the pastor's wife of an apostolic church. Um, I don't know if she's comfortable. I'll say it. Um, well, I don't know if she's comfortable with me talking about her. I'm gonna have to ask her first before I upload this. Or like saying her name. I'm sure she is, but comfortable with it. But she on Instagram, like she every once in a while would post things about books, and she would give us girls good book recommendations. And I even talked to her about 2 years ago when I kind of got a little bit more serious about making book reviews. I went and talked to her, and I was like, "Hey, I want to make book review videos because of the content that's in books. Like you can read the summary of a book, and it seems like the most wholesome, interesting." Story, and then you start reading it and there's some insane stuff that not everyone wants to read about, because it's important for you to watch what you read, just like you need to watch what you watch what you hear. You need to watch what you read. And but the problem with that is you don't always know what's in a book until you've started reading it. And I was talking to her about that, and I was like, I'd love to just be a place for young, really anyone. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a young person to watch what you read. Like even if you're an adult, there's still some things that you might not want to read about in a book. You don't want to occupy your mind with some things. There's some things you just don't need to think about and read about. And so yeah, I talked to her. And another thing that we mentioned, I love Christian authors. I'm so thankful there are such a thing as Christian authors, but there are definitely some that, I'm trying to say this in a nice way, they make their money off of being Christian authors. In the fact that you can pick up their book and you can be completely safe reading it. There's not going to be anything in it. If there's any romance, it's all closed door. Um, they're good books, or they're good books as far as content, but they might not be the most well written. Or there's a nice little thing that I like to call copy paste books, where there's some authors that um love her to death. Jeanette Oak. I read the Love Comes Softly series, and the first one was really good. And then, like, the second through I forget how many there are. I think there's 8. The second, third, fourth, maybe fifth, it wasn't they were bad, and there was some variation, but it really got to where I was kind of guessing what was going to happen. And then the last 2 books I remember being very different, and I liked them. I still love Jeanette Oak. I think I have a series of hers. I haven't read yet, but I plan on reading it. I've heard it's really good. I plan on reading it and reviewing it. And I love her. I'll still read her. It's just that personally, I like my main like reading genre has been mystery thrillers. Like I don't want to read the same cutesy story over and over and over again all the time. Sometimes I get in that mood, and I will, but some authors, Christian authors, just might not be the most well uh their books might not be the most well written. Um but they make their money off of just being Christian authors. I'm not saying Jeanette Oak isn't a good writer. I'm just saying that at least with her Love Comes Softly series, I was able to kind of start guessing what was going to happen, and I don't exactly like being able to do that. I like books with a little variation. Once again, no hate to her. I'm still gonna read her books. I might read Love Comes Softly again. Um, It's just that there are some authors, not her, but that are Christian authors that write romance books, and they seem to be copy paste books just with different character names and maybe in a different place. I personally, that's not my type of book. If that is your type of book, that's no hate. I totally understand the comfort of being able to pick up a book and read a cute little romance or a cute little, like, just something that makes you feel good, I guess, if that makes sense. So, no hate to anyone who does like to read books like that. That's not my personal, like, that's not what I like personally, but for those of you who love that, I'm still going to read books, and I will give y'all reviews for books like that because I know there are people that like books like that. Um, but I want to be able to make y'all aware of some Christian authors that are actually good authors. And Sister Megan did give me a short list of some good Christian authors. Um, and I've read a few myself. There are two in particular I really love. I'm gonna wait until I review their books to say their names, but y'all have most likely heard of them because they're very popular. At least to me, to my friend group, they're very popular. Excuse me. But I also want to make y'all aware of some authors that may not be Christian authors, or they may be Christian, but they don't advertise themselves as Christian authors, if that makes sense. But they're still good authors and they still write good books. So I want to make y'all aware of that. And just, I think I said it earlier, I read all kinds of genres. I read um, mystery and thriller books, and history books are my biggest thing. But especially the last, I'd say 5 years, I've branched out a little bit. Westerns, that is a fairly new one. For me, I'm trying to think. I think probably 2 years ago, my boyfriend's uncle, he reads nothing but westerns. He has shelves at his house of just westerns. Um and he let me, like, I have some westerns here at the house, but I hadn't read a whole lot of them. Um and I just wasn't sure. Like, I was like, "Oh, I think I like westerns. I would like that. I like cowboys, gunfights. That all sounds cool to me. Same with pirates. I think pirates are so cool. I'd love to read a good book series with the pirates, and I have one that a friend of mine, Riley, has recommended, and I want to get them and read them eventually. Yeah, I really hadn't really read that many westerns. wasn't sure how I liked them. Well, he let me borrow a western. He actually let me borrow three, but he let me borrow one. I read it, and I gave that book probably like 4.4.5 stars. I don't know. It was so good. I loved it. Um, or 5 stars, 4.5, 5 stars. I don't remember. I loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love westerns. So now I bought a lot of westerns. Like, literally last summer, um, we found someone. Me and my boyfriend found somebody that was selling a bunch of Louis L'Amour books, and he gave them to us for like a quarter a piece. So now I have just a huge stack of westerns because I figured out that I love them. Sci-fi is another series, or another, not a series, another genre that, like, when I was younger, I always thought of, oops, I have my water bottle. um Sci-fi is another series I never thought that I would like. I always thought of sci-fi as like really out there, like dinosaur sharks floating around in space and like fighting aliens. That's just always what I thought of as sci-fi. But I found out that I really like the sci-fi books that are very realistic and then, like, make it believable, if that makes sense. Like time travel. Like, it's very, like, the science is right in it, and then they're like, they just explain in a rational um way that time travel is actually uh possible, and we time traveled, So I haven't read a whole lot of books in sci-fi, but the ones that I have road read, the sci-fi books that I have read, I've really liked. Um, so yeah, romances. That's funny. Okay, my best friend Cassidy, she knows that, and Gracie too has probably heard this rant. I used to despise romance books. used to despise them, did not like them. I would read books that had romance in them if it wasn't the main point of the book. I wasn't opposed to that, but I just did not like them. I despised them. I would rant about how much I did not like romance books. But then I read a series that I will eventually reread and review. That is a series that I would reread even if I didn't have a book YouTube channel, which is crazy for me because I don't normally reread a lot of books. I'm a type of person that I'll read it once and I already know all the plot twists, so I'm not gonna read them again. Which that goes back to probably a lot of the reason why I don't like reading copy paste books, as I call them. But then I read that series, and there's actually a funny story that I would tell when I start reviewing it that shows how much I did not like reading romances. But it was a romance series. I think it was supposed to be romance, but it was a historical fiction, and they did their research. There were two authors, and then at the very end, one of the authors took over and wrote the last 2 or 3 books by herself. But I would like look into some of the little details of her that she put in the book, and they were like it was very accurate. So I really love that series. That's probably part of the reason why I loved it so much, was the historical fiction part, and then the romance in it just helped me to, so on occasion I'll read a good romance. Still not my favorite genre, but I realize that a lot of people, that is like all that they'll read. That's all that they like. Not that that's all they'll read, but that's really what they like. Um Fantasies is a big one. I haven't really read a whole lot. I'm not opposed to it. I consider the Chronicles of Narnia and The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, stuff like that. I consider those fantasy. I plan on reading those and reviewing them eventually. If Lord of the Rings is any good, I read The Hobbit when I was in like 5th, 6th grade. It was 5th or 6th grade, I think, that I read The Hobbit. From what I remember, it was good. There wasn't anything explicit in it. I really don't think there was. But plan on rereading that. But I consider those fantasy. Um that's really all that I've written as far as fantasy that I can remember off the top of my head. But I'm hoping that this book channel will help me to broaden my reading genres, and I want to kind of use this as not inspiration, as a motivation for me to read more genres, because I know I'll have viewers that might not only like mysteries and thrillers and historical fictions, which is what I read most of the time. Also dystopian. Love me a good dystopian um book. The only problem with that is the Hunger Games. In my opinion, nothing can top it. I will definitely give y'all probably 50 videos on the Hunger Games. Love the Hunger Games, but love me a good dystopian novel as well. So yeah, I'm very excited. One last part before I move to the last little bit. If y'all cannot tell, I rant and I get on little rabbit trails. My closest friends know that. So I literally have me a whole script that I wrote out. So that I could keep up with everything, and I've still strayed from it. But one thing on that, talking about explicit content, um, it is very important that everyone has like personal um it's important for you to know what you can handle reading and what you can't, and everyone has their own convictions. So I don't want some people may have stronger convictions in one area than I do, and then looser convictions in another area than I do. It's not nothing against me or you or anyone else. It's just we all can handle different things differently. Um, and I definitely don't want any of my book recommendations to. I don't want anyone to use me and my recommending a book as an excuse to read something that they can't handle, if that makes any sense. That's another thing that I talked to Sister Brister about. That was one of the main worries that I had, was recommending a book that someone couldn't handle reading. And that's why I want to be so open and transparent about what's in a book, so I can give you the best idea of what's in it, and you can judge for yourself whether you can handle reading it or not. So I definitely don't want, just because I recommended a book, I don't want somebody to go and read it when there's something in it that they don't like to read or they can't handle. So it's very important to have personal conviction, personal, like, have discernment when it comes to that. But I at least want to give people the chance to know what they're getting into before they even pick up the book. Now, my last little part is I want to give you an idea of what I have planned for this channel. So I'm very excited about it. So I'm gonna do book reviews. That's the main thing. But I'm the type of person that I don't like I don't like spoilers. I want to read it and I want to experience it like that in the book. Me and my friend Gracely have a joke that she has accidentally spoiled at least one book for me. There might have been more. So every time she's reading a book, before I get to it, I'm like, "Don't talk to me about it. Don't talk to me about it." And it's kind of a running joke between the two of us. But I'm not that type of person. I want you to give me as little details as possible. Like, tell me the summary, because I read the summary before I read a book, unless it's an author that, like, I trust, like Louis L'Amour. I really I've only read 2 of his books. I'm reading one right now of his that I kind of read the back, but I just kind of picked it up out of a pile because I was in the mood for a Western. So, but the majority of the time, I read the summary before I read a book. And sometimes I look up the reviews on it too if it's something I'm kind of iffy about. But I'm the type of person, I don't want spoilers. Give me as little detail as possible while still making me interested in the book. So what I'm going to do is each time I go to review a book, I'm going to do one video. It'll probably end up being a pretty short video. And I'm going to try to be as transparent as possible about any explicit content that may be in it, any cursing that might be in it, anything that someone may have a problem with. I'm going to do that without any spoilers. And then I'll try to give you, I'm going to read the summary, try to give you little details about it without spoiling anything. And that'll be like the main review. Now, I also have a friend, Riley is one of them that I can think of right off the bat. You can tell her every single detail of a book. You can tell her every plot twist. You can tell her everything about it, and she will still go and read the book and enjoy it as if she didn't know any of that already. Like, and I love that. So I know there's some people that are like that. They still want to experience the book, even if they know what's going to happen. They still want to experience reading the book. So, what I'm gonna do is make a separate video, and that is where I will tell you the story of the book. I'm still gonna leave y'all some plot twists. I'm not gonna tell you every little detail, but those are for the people who want to hear more about the book before they start reading it, if they don't really mind a few spoilers here and there. If it is a series, I'll probably put like the whole series in one long video, like in depth, like review with a few spoilers, but each book will get its own little review. So yeah, another thing I'm really excited about is series reading order videos, because there are some book series that it's very disputed in the reading order how you should read them. And there's one series in particular that I've been trying to find the reading order and I cannot find it. I asked ChatGPT one. I asked ChatGPT one, or what it was, and it told me there was like so many books in the series, and this is the suggested reading order. Well, then I asked Google, and Google told me there was a completely different number of books in the series. And it told me a different suggested reading order, and I could never find like a definitive way to read it. So for that series, I might just read the whole series and then kind of try to give y'all my personal like suggested reading order. Because some books in some series can get really confusing, especially if there's like sequels and novellas, but sometimes if you read them in chronological order, it doesn't make sense, and it would be better to read them in a different order, and it can get confusing sometimes. So I want to do those. Same with book hauls. I love going to a bookstore and picking out a few books, and I love going to the bookstore. I can spend literally hours. Like my mom, before I could drive, my mom got to where she would not take me to a bookstore because she would have to literally drag me out. I remember one of the last times she took me to a bookstore. We were already in there for like 30 minutes, and she was like, Isabella, if you leave right now, I will buy you a book. Just pick out a book and let's go. That is no hate to my mom. I understand. She's never been a big reader, which recently she's kind of gotten into reading and made me really happy. And she's like, she would ask for my opinion on what to read, and I was so excited about that. But so before I could drive, she would hardly take me to a bookstore because I will spend literally forever in a bookstore. So I definitely want to do like book hauls every time I go to the bookstore, or even if I order some books online, like kind of do a unboxing, whatever. The only thing with that is, if I do a book haul, that's not gonna be my definitive like you should read this book, because obviously if I haven't read it yet, I don't know the content that is in the book. I just want to kind of make y'all aware of the books that I found interesting. I read the summary and I was kind of in the mood for it, so I bought it type of deal. Um and challenges. I've been watching some different YouTube channels, and a lot of them do challenges like one was like they got their friends to pick their like TBRs for a month or whatever. That would be very fun for me because I'm absolutely a mood reader. I have not once in my life made a TBR for a month because I never know if I'll have a bad, like, not a bad week, but like a rough week at school or a rough month at school that I don't have time to read. I never know what mood I'm going to be in pretty much until at the end of my current read. So I've never made a TBR, and most of the time, if I'm in a certain mood, I can't just pick up a different book and read it. Like, it's hard for me to get into it. I'm 100% a mood reader. So it might be interesting to do a challenge like that to get my friends and family to pick what book I read, because that would definitely be a challenge for me. Um so different things like that I feel like would be really fun. I'd love to do that. And then Uh, one thing, I don't know how I feel about this yet. I just wrote it down to remind myself later. Is I've seen where people do like read with me's, where they'll like upload a 30-minute or hour-long video of them just sitting with a coffee or tea and reading. I know that motivates some people to read. I don't know that I would feel comfortable like recording myself reading for an hour. Um, but who knows what I'll do in the future. And then, most importantly, I want to be very open to suggestions. If anybody has any books that they would like for me to read and review for them, like before they decide to get into it, I would love to do that, especially for like, someone younger who is really trying to watch what they read, or if there's any challenges that y'all want me to do. I'm very open to suggestions. Um yeah, I really want to help y'all with your reading and not having to getting into a book that doesn't reflect the things that y'all want to spend your time on and spend your time reading. So yeah, I believe that is everything. Another plan for my channel is, when I read or review a book or a series that I know a friend of mine really likes, I would love to bring them on, or even do like a short little mini, not really an interview, but like I would love to have them, just even if they couldn't like come sit down with me, at least like record something to insert into my main video of like their thoughts about the book, what they liked about it, what they didn't, anything like that. I would love to include some of my friends. Very excited for y'all to see some of those videos. So yeah, I think that's it. I ranted and yapped long enough. Um so yeah. I am very excited. Already have my first video planned. Might not record it tonight, but yeah. I'm very excited, and I guess that's it. Can't wait to see you on the next video. Bye.